Okay, you can get started.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Lisa Honka, and I have a company called Your Key to Senior Living Options. We have been doing the Zoom calls since the pandemic started, and we are very happy to be joined by Jackie from the Alzheimer's Family Organization. She's going to be speaking on senior safety. This actually is a two-part series. Today, we're going to be having her first part of the series, which is going to be talking about home safety, medication management, mobility, safety, dining experience, bathing, and traveling. And then we're going to be having her again on April 15th at 10 o'clock. So be sure to register for that. We'll send you out a link to the next upcoming seminars that we're going to be having. So again, my name is Lisa Honka, and I have a company called Your Key to Senior Living Options. I help seniors find resources in the area and also independent assisted memory care communities. And we are very happy to be joined by Jackie. Jackie, can you tell us a little bit about you, the Alzheimer's Family Organization, and also some of the things that are coming up with the Alzheimer's Family Organization really soon? You have some special things coming.
Absolutely. Can everybody see me? I can't see myself, so I don't know if I'm on or not. Am I?
Yes.
You can see me? Okay.
Yep.
As Lisa said, my name is Jackie Kuhn, and I work for the Alzheimer's Family Organization, and I'm what they call a community educator. So in the past, we've gone around and done a lot of speaking in churches, organizations, and clubs as such, and to be able to educate people on Alzheimer's and other dementias. We know that this is a growing disease. It's one that's not going away. And so we know that it's here to stay. And so in my journeys, we do support groups and we do training. And so we're here for the community. The Alzheimer's Family Organization's middle name is family, which means our focus is the caregiver. We know that the caregiver is the one that remembers this journey, and the loved one with the diagnosis does not. So we know that that can be very difficult for the caregiver. So during this session, we're going to be talking about more with safety in the home. But before we get started, I want to mention that this coming Saturday, March 13th at the Polo Field, we are doing our memory walk, which is for the Alzheimer's Family Organization. It's our biggest fundraiser. And this allows us to be able to remain in our communities. The one thing that I'm proud about with the AFO is that whatever monies are earned in that area stays in those areas to be able to provide materials, education, one-on-ones, whatever is necessary to be able to help that caregiver get through this journey. So we have it's been difficult as it has for everybody over this last year with COVID. We hope that we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel with this, and that we'll be able to start meeting more in person in our support groups and such as we have in the past. So my background is I worked in long-term care now close to 50 years. I started at age 16 as a dishwasher in what they called an old folks home. And so ever since then, I've had a love for seniors. I've had a love for the elderly. And my husband would always say, why is it wherever we go, you're just gathered by senior people? And I said, it's because I'm a listener. And it's important that they are being heard. It's important that we're able to help them in any way that we can. I'm an administrator and executive director by trade and a social worker. So it's my love. It's my love to help families and to help organizations and to help people have a better understanding of this disease. So that's a little bit about me. So we're going to begin with preparing your home. We made this a 2 series because there's just so much information that I have. And I just didn't want to overwhelm everybody in just 1 hour to try to have a better understanding of what you can do in your homes to prepare your homes for caring for your loved one. Some of these things are probably things you've tried, failed, try again. You might be getting ideas from others, But today's session are thoughts, ideas, examples that I've received from caregivers, seminars, personal experience in my journey. And so I hope that you can get something from it that might make your life just a little bit easier as a caregiver. You know, I always say what works for one doesn't always work for the other. I always use this example, like, you know, when our children were all very young and we began to potty train them, and we would get frustrated because we just couldn't get it accomplished. And you could be in a room with 20 mothers and every one of them had a different approach, a different example, a different way in which they did it. And, you know, we'd go home and try all 20 just to see and hope that one would work. And so with these ideas today, one might work. It may work one day and not the next day, but then again, the next day. So there are things that you have to kind of feel out in your own home and with your own loved one to see what works with them. How best do I communicate this with them? So when we talk about preparing the home, sometimes we think, you know, our home is perfect. Our home is just the way we want it. But then again, we start to look around and we begin to think, well, maybe there's some things that we could do for safety. There's things that we could do to lessen the anxiety of our loved one. And one of the main things of that is to kind of declutter your home. You know, we have a lot of stuff, you know, us women, we like a lot of stuff. We like decorations. We like a lot of things that really aren't pertinent to me caring for my loved one. So when we talk about too much furniture, too many decorations, sometimes that can become confusing to them because they don't remember those things prior to this diagnosis. And so it's important that we begin to look at our home and say, what can I declutter with? You know, it might be those throw rugs on the floor that are causing and could cause someone to fall or to slide or to slip. I know my floors are slippery. And if my rug is right there and I step on it just right, I kind of slide with my rug. So I know it's important that, again, we look at decluttering it. You know, leave the meaningful things out, the sentimental things, the pictures, the things that may bring back some memories to them that I think is important that we can utilize. So it's important to look at your home and say, what can I do to lessen the declutter, lessen the opportunity for a fall, lessen the opportunity for him to see something or she see something that doesn't mean anything to them. They may pick it up, they may drop it. They, you know, we don't know. Sometimes we find things thrown away that you're thinking, well, why did they throw that away? So sometimes they may just pick up an item and put it in the trash. So again, let's look at the ways that we can declutter and to soften the home a little bit so it's not so distracting. It's a lot like when someone is got the TV going and the radio's on and the phone's ringing and you're just trying to keep everything together. That's just a little bit too much stimulation. So again, we want to find a way to declutter our home. That's just not your living room and your kitchen, that's your bedrooms and bathrooms as well. Make sure your walkways to different rooms are easily accessible. You know, a lot of times with the decorations, we put a little table in the hallways. And sometimes that's not the easiest for somebody to maneuver with Alzheimer's or a form of dementia around those tables. So those are things that we might want to remove. You know, we look at different obstacles that might overwhelm them. Even we're looking at senses. Loved ones can be easily overwhelmed. You know, we talked about hearing the television, the radio, traffic noise if you have your windows and doors open. Too many people in one room talking at once. Smells, perfumes sometimes are distracting, air fresheners, candles, seeing bright lights. Many times, you know, we have special bulbs in our lamps, and sometimes they can be overwhelming and too bright for them. So those are all things to kind of look at in your living space. Keep doors open and light on to often used rooms. Those are rooms such as the bathroom, the bedroom. So if there's a room you don't want them to go into, you're better off to shut the door, make the room dark. But the rooms that are going to have to be accessible to them, such as you want them to know where the bathroom is, you want them to know where the bedroom is. And so those are the rooms that you would possibly leave a night light on in there or the light on as much as possible. We talked about keeping the doors closed to the rooms that you don't want them to go into. If you have a basement, the basement door, because some of those doors can create a danger area. You talk about the laundry room, the garage door from the house, the guest room, and maybe the guest bathroom, if that's not what you're wanting them to use. So those would be the doors that we would want to keep closed. Could make signs with arrows to the bathroom and on the wall next to the bathroom. Maybe even put a picture of a toilet on the bathroom. At some point, they may not be able to recognize what room that is. It's the kitchen, it's the bedroom, it's the bathroom. So sometimes people will use visuals to be able to let them know what that is. Sometimes I'll go into a home and I'll see labels on the kitchen cabinets, glasses, plates, silverware. If they're still able to read and understand, that way they're able to find those items. So sometimes we do label them. And particularly, you know, we label too. I've encouraged some families to make a photo album of different things, a picture of a toilet, closet with clothes, water glass, plate for food, because sometimes they're not able to communicate with you. But if sometimes you show them a picture, you can better understand what their needs are. So sometimes a visual in a little book also helps. Putting alarms on all the doors is sometimes beneficial. If you have a loved one who's a wanderer, you can find little motion detectors that will set off. You can put a little bell on the door so that you can recognize if they leave the room. You can put a keypad on there that has the punch number so that there's a code so that they cannot open the door, but yet they don't lose their dignity of not being able to open it. Lowe's, Home Goods, all those places have those kind of locks that you can put on your doors for that safety. Optional, you could put latches on the bottom of the door instead of on the top or in the middle, like so many of our doors are, because more likely they won't bend over to unlock something. They automatically assume it's right there by the handle. So sometimes if you put the lock closer to the bottom versus the top, it's less likely that they're going to try to unlock it. Like I said, Home Depot and Lowe's have all different kinds of locks that you can use to make the home safety for those that are wanderers. So many times we don't think color means a lot to those with Alzheimer's, but it does. Color can be used to our advantage. One main color in each room, so that doesn't get distracting. You could put signs on the doors for those to be able to read. But I know color makes a big difference because there are calming colors that you can put into your home that kind of lessen the agitation mood. Yellow, soft greens, blue, those are colors that are calming to them. So we want to make sure again that we try to make that environment a calming environment for them. Geometric and floral designs in our carpets may be confusing to your loved one. I had couple facilities that I was in that had beautiful floral carpets. And then they'd have a beautiful, about a 12-inch to 14-inch border around the carpeting. And we began to notice an increase in falls. And we began to evaluate that. And many times the loved one with Alzheimer's sees that strip of border as a deep hole. So we'd see our residents trying to step over that versus stepping on it to cross the carpet. And so it would increase our falls. We also noted that people, if you have a floral pattern on your rugs, throw rugs, or carpeting, that a loved one with Alzheimer's will bend over to try to pick those flowers. They don't see it as a rug, they see them as flowers. And so they begin to lean over, pick up, possibly could fall. But it's important that, again, we look at that part of it again when we're talking about defusing our home. What are some of those things? So a plain carpeting is best. Light wood floors, vinyl planking, light tile is recommended and is more easily cleaned than carpeting as well, because we never know when those accidents may occur. So we know that, again, our flooring, your flooring in your home is your biggest piece of furniture you have. So it's important to look at that flooring and know that, okay, this is aesthetically okay for my loved one going through this journey. Dark plain rugs may present another issue. A dark rug in front of a door will seem to a loved one with Alzheimer's as, again, we mentioned, a hole, and they won't step in front of it. People sometimes use that as a safety. They put a dark rug in front of the door so the loved one will not go outside the door. So that, again, is important to remember. Many times they don't see the rug as you and I see it. They might be afraid and not want to step over it, so that, again, they may kind of shuffle to see what it is, but to them, it's a black hole. Chairs with arms are much safer than a regular chair and easier to get in and out of. Our dining room tables have 4 unarmed chairs and 2 in chairs with arms on it. So those are the ones that are easily accessible to the loved one with the diagnosis. It gives them a stability to place their arms on it, to be able to raise themselves from that chair. And the same with a lazy boy or a chair that we have. Many times once they're back in it, they don't know how to get out of it. So you don't want them crawling over it. You want to make sure that it's safe for them to be able to maneuver the buttons or the arm handle to be able to move that lounge chair back to its normal position. I know many of you have seen those lift chairs to be able to put residents in and to lift out. I've not heard a lot of concerns with those, but we want to make sure that again is something that they can get out of safely. The one thing that we talk about with chairs, again, is that, you can always put a cover over the chair, a towel. Some people will use adult or even puppy pads to put on the chair and then put a towel over it to be able to save the chair, again, if there were any accidents. Glass tables in a house may be hard to see, and the loved one may bump into them. So they're not recognizing a glass as a part of the table. So you want to be very careful that they don't do that. Many times too, those glass tables just sit on the top. They don't, they're not real secure. So they may lean on it and it may topple over and you've got a broken glass and possibly an injury. So we want to make sure that, again, that's one of those items that we want to look at. Is it safe to have? You can place a tablecloth over that glass cover, which would make it at least visible for them to see that that is not glass, but it is a tabletop. Mirrors can be added to confusion because they don't recognize themselves in that mirror. You'll go into some memory cares, and they've really kind of deleted putting up mirrors because they don't recognize themselves. One of the most recent or most used calls to the police department is somebody saying, there's somebody in my house, there's somebody in my house. And the police will go and they'll check the home out. And lo and behold, there's not anybody in there but the loved one. And so that loved one will walk toward the door and stand in front of a mirror and say, there they are. That's the person that's in my house, because they don't see themselves as that 80-year-old person. They see themselves either in their 20s, 30s. So they don't recognize that elderly person in the mirror. So that's why sometimes it's easier to take down the mirror than to cause them to be agitated by looking into the mirror and not knowing and recognizing that person in the mirror. Keeping free of breakable and precious items, many times, again, with decorations, we have a lot of glass, precious mementos, inherited things that we don't want broken. So sometimes it's a good idea to maybe just put those under a locked cabinet if you have one, or maybe you might just have to put them up high enough that somebody does not have to interact with that or to meet or to pick that up by accident. So we want to make sure, again, that those precious items that we have, we want to make sure that we can keep them. We don't want them to get broke. Do not put vases of fresh flowers on a table. And as much as we like the smell of those, and it's so beautiful, we know that, again, they don't see it as a vase. They may see it as a pitcher of water. So many of our vases are clear and we put water in them. And so they visualize that as just a drink. They'll take the flowers out and they'll begin to drink the water from that vase. So we want to make sure, again, that we're conscientious about those things that could be of danger. Sometimes the television is your friend, but sometimes it is not. Please be careful and monitor what your loved one watches. Many times the news has not been very positive. So we want to make sure that, again, what they're seeing is that they understand that it is not real. But your loved one with this diagnosis does not understand that it's not real. Maybe they were in the military and they're talking about gunfire and they're talking about war and things like that. It brings them right back to that time in their life. So we want to make sure that, TV isn't real to them. So they can't decipher the difference between something being real and something not. Scary shows, commercials can be frightening. So again, we want to be very conscientious about what is happening. Especially monitor before bedtime, because you don't want them going to bed irritated, scared, worried, because that'll just add to the confusion for their sleeping. Try soothing music before bedtime. Sometimes that will help. If they're a person that can be calmed down, I always say it's like my little ones, they'll get them all excited before bedtime and then they just can't sleep. And so it's the same with someone with this diagnosis. We want it to be a downtime, a calming period of time. So we want to make sure, again, that what they're seeing on television we're very conscientious about what they are watching. You hear us talk a lot about sundown syndrome. And again, when the sun goes down, gradually put the lights on in the house. That way they don't decipher the difference between daylight and evening. I've had people put their pajamas on at 5 o'clock because that way they're assuming as it does get dark, then it is bedtime. But as the sun goes down, we can put on lights, use ceiling lights and dimmers rather than bright light elements from the lamps. Use light lamps later in the day may also be soothing. You can buy different light bulbs to put inside of your lamps to be able to not make it quite as bright and to soften the room as the day progresses. Because sundowners is when they become the most agitated, they become more wander or at risk, they begin to pace more and more. So it's real important that we look and find a way to handle that sundowners in our home. Again, these are ideas. And again, many of you I know have tried these and heard these. And so it's important that particularly for somebody new to setting up your home, that these are some thoughts and ideas. Now we're going to go to the kitchen and dining experience. We know that the kitchen is the heart of the home. This is where everybody goes. They may be sitting there watching you prepare your meal. They may be sitting there nibbling while you're cooking, and having to try to have some kind of conversation. But it's such an important area of our home, and yet can be a very dangerous area of our home. And so we want to make sure that, again, our kitchen dining experience is safe. Place child-proof locks on medicine, cleaning supply cabinets. You know, we all have that cabinet underneath our kitchen sink that's got tons and tons of stuff under there that we don't want anyone to accidentally drink or maybe even get on their hands. You know, I have an old saying, and I guess I've done this for years when I've talked to my families. I say, if it says on the bottle or anything, not safe for children, you can assume it's not safe for those with Alzheimer's, because they don't understand the danger of those products. In my really young days of an activity director, I learned this lesson the hard way. I had an individual who had Alzheimer's. And as the activity director at Christmas, I bought all the residents a gift, and I bought them a tiny bottle of perfume and a pair of socks. And I gave this to all the women. Little did I know that my little resident Val didn't know that that liquid was a perfume, and she drank it. And so, you know, it didn't hurt her. She was fine. But the idea, again, they saw it as a liquid, and so they didn't know what else to do with it. They assumed a liquid was a liquid, and she drank it. So again, you know, we want to make sure that anything that we have, you know, ammonia, any type of cleaners that we have underneath our sink, that we are protected with the child-proof locks on there so that they are not able to get into them and not knowing what they are and to possibly drink it. Do not give your loved ones knives. Always make sure they're in a secure area. There again, they don't always know the danger of that knife. They may just assume it's something, they might know it's sharp, but they don't know the pain that it could cause if they should slice their finger or their hand with a knife. So again, another childproof lock would be on the knives. Use plain plastic plates, cups, bowls, but regular silverware. We don't want them to use plastic silverware that breaks. We know how we use a fork and one of the prongs breaks off, then we've got a little bit maybe of an opportunity to poke ourselves, to injure ourselves. So we want to make sure that, again, we're always using regular silverware. Many times you can buy a sectional plate, may be beneficial. You can go to Dollar Tree, Dollar General, any of those places. You know how you buy those little rally trays that you can put carrots and pickles and everything in, and it's got about 4 departments on the side, and then they got one circle in the center. And I use these for serving. You can use those to serve, and they can put something in each little pocket, and that way all their food's not running together, because I know many times they don't like their food to touch, but that way you can separate their food, and they're plastic and they're clear and they look kind of fancy. So it gives them an opportunity to put things, or you to put things in every little section so the food doesn't run together. And so that can be very helpful. Red plates stimulate appetite. I use this for myself. Red plates stimulate appetite. A yellow plate is a happy color, and white plates are difficult to eat off because the food blends in, and the plate and depth perception can be an issue. So a blue plate will not stimulate the appetite. So if your individual loved one does not eat well, you might want to use a red plate. If they eat too much, you might want to use a blue plate. So again, how we prepare the food, what we do with it, makes a big difference in how our loved one will eat. Use an adult drinking cup with a lid on it to prevent spills, not a sippy cup. We don't demean them with a sippy cup, but there are plenty of cups out there now with straws, or just being able to thermos type glasses and mugs that we can utilize that are more dignified, and yet it does prevent spills. Use solid colored tablecloths or a plain colored placemat. Here again, I'm sitting here at my dining room table and I've got bunny placemats and they're real colorful. But if I had a loved one with Alzheimer's, they'd probably be picking at those flowers that the little chickadees are on, or the rabbit ears, because of the color. So we want to make sure that, again, we're using a solid tablecloth and plain placemats. Designs and flowered tablecloths are distracting, and they begin, as I had said, to maybe start picking those and knock something over while trying to reach for those items on my placemat. So again, plain tablecloths and plain placemats. Use a long bath towel or a beach towel as a clothing protector. I keep threatening I'm going to make my husband a clothing protector and his friends, because we never can go out to eat without somebody spilling something on their shirt. I used to have a clothing protector in my car as I traveled, because that allowed me to eat in my car and not get my clothes dirty before I got to my destination. And it was a cute little quilted, you can make them and they're not difficult, to be able to wear them with some dignity still, to be able to make sure that I don't get food all over. If you're using a towel or a beach towel, it'll cover the majority part of their body, so that way they won't get their pants wet. We know how difficult it is to dress our loved ones when they get up. We don't want to be redressing them 2 to 3 times a day. So we want to make sure that their clothing stays intact. You can buy pretty towels. You can buy, if they're a golfer, you can buy a golf towel. You know, there's just ways that we get around the fact that, you know, we want them to still maintain their dignity, but yet we want to keep them clean at all times. Choose one color of placemat for the loved one to designate his or her own space. So let's say my loved one, it's always going to sit in the same place. I'm going to put that maybe a green placemat and my red plate. And that way he or she will always know that this is where I sit. This is my space. And so when I go to the table, I always go to that specific chair. If your loved one is putting a paper napkin in their mouth, again, we suggest using a cloth napkin. You can tear up an old sheet into like 12-inch squares for your cloth napkins. They don't have to be the boughten ones, but that way they throw them in the wash whenever you need to. And it just still allows them the dignity of having that napkin, because we all know what paper napkins, we can put it in our mouth and it just kind of gets soft and wet. So we want to make sure that, again, cloth napkins can be used. A caregiver should place own food far enough away from loved one to prevent grabbing the food. That's one thing with this diagnosis that happens a lot. If you've got people too close to each other at the dining table, they're going to look at their plate and they're going to maybe begin to reach out and to grab what is on their plate. So we want to make sure that everybody is spaced out well enough, and that it is a good distance so that they will not do that and grab other people's food. Cut up all the food ahead of time in small, manageable pieces. We don't want to put the food down in front of them and then cut it right in front of them. For dignity purposes, let's cut the food prior to giving it to them to eat. We know that sometimes they lose the ability to understand how to use utensils. We used to have our staff sit and eat with our residents, because many times if the resident would see that staff member eat with a fork, they would pick up their fork and mimic what the caregiver or CNA was doing. So many times they begin to lose the dexterity to be able to utilize that. So again, we look at a lot of finger foods to be able to prevent, to give them. Also, it makes it much more manageable to eat. Sometimes there are only a few foods a loved one will eat. For a variety, you may try serving it in a different way. My granddaughter, Lucy, has to eat noodles all the time. So my daughter will sometimes put a colored dye in the noodles to give it a variety, to let her think that she's getting something different. So, you know, with our loved ones, you can use a small plate for one food or a bowl for another. If it's something that they will eat, many times what we do is, because they'll eat it, we'll fix it all the time. And that's the only way sometimes that we can get them to eat. Put everything in separate bowls. That's kind of like with that serving tray I was sharing with you, that they are already divided, but yet that's all in front of them. Cut up a sandwich in 4 or 6 pieces. Eat dessert first and veggies last. Now, I like that idea. Eating dessert first and veggies last, because we know that they have a taste for sweetness. And so it will get them started to eat. So consider that dessert being served first. Use a spoon instead of a fork for some foods. Make designs out of vegetables. Try adding sugar or sweetener to foods to make them more appealing to eat. Sense of taste is often the last to go with our loved ones. Finger food allows loved one to be more independent during mealtime. You know, we all eat finger foods. You got chicken nuggets, you know, you've got, you can cut up little pieces of hamburger, you can cut up a sandwich, anything that's small enough to pick up that they're able to eat. We always want to monitor the food because we don't want them to choke. So we know that pieces have to be cut up and to be made smaller. And again, we have to be careful with those who are diabetic and need sugar-free and to use substitute sugars for those. So always check with your doctor on their diet, which I'm assuming most loved ones already know what is best for them to eat or drink. Make sure hot drinks and cups are not too hot. You know, the one thing we don't want them to do is spill a cup of hot coffee on them. That's the other reason to provide a cup with a lid, so that that doesn't spill on them, because we know that they can easily be burned, and that can be very detrimental. Dilute the soft drinks with water, especially carbonated drinks. The fizzle may bother the loved one. It might irritate their stomach. You can mix a half water to a half soft drink. Also, many want to dilute wine. You can also dilute wine and alcohol when loved ones request a drink. So that way you can kind of weaken it and limit that as to what you're doing. Water is very important for good health by itself or used for dilution. So make sure that they are getting plenty of water. The last thing we want them to do is to get dehydrated. It's very important that they don't get dehydrated. When drinking from a glass, it becomes too difficult. Try a straw. We kind of talked about those cups, and you can put straws in them. When from a glass or straw becomes too difficult, put water on a washcloth. Put the tip of it in your mouth so that they can chew the cloth to swallow the water, or put the tip of washcloth on their lips. Many times you'll see loved ones who are, their lips begin to become very dry and peely looking. And so we want to make sure that we take that washcloth, dip it in water, and place it on their lips. Milk is soothing drink, but may cause diarrhea, possibly a dairy sensitivity. So we want to make sure again that we're very careful about what we're giving them. We want to make sure that too, many times that we feed people or even ourselves, what we drink, what we eat causes diarrhea or causes bowel misfunction. So we want to make sure what we're feeding them isn't going to cause that, because that becomes very frustrating for the loved one going through the diarrhea, but also for the caregiver having to clean that. So we want to make sure, again, that we're very careful. Cheese and bananas are also soothing foods, but only in small quantities. Sometimes they're a good nighttime snack before they go to bed. Oatmeal, add and cut up a banana and fruit of choice. Purchase small cups of cup fruit, drain the juice, add it to the oatmeal, but you can also add milk or glucerna with it as well. So it's very important to make sure that we protect that. Muffins, break into bite-sized pieces, put in a bowl and add a little milk, glucerna fruit, or yogurt. Sleepy time tea is a good several hours before bedtime. It is a diuretic. Keep a daily or weekly record of all the foods that your loved one has eaten so that you can track if there are any problems that arise. And here, this also will allow you to know what they were eating and what they will not. Try to eat healthy and well-balanced meals. Count calories and document their sensitivities. If eating becomes difficult, put a U-shaped neck pillow, those ones that you use at the airport to keep your head upright. You could use one of those around the back of their neck, and this will line up the esophagus so it's easier to swallow and to breathe. This type of pillow also helps them sleep better as well. And we know that, again, dining is an opportunity that some of us still want to go out to eat. And it's challenging when you don't know what to expect. Many times loved ones with Alzheimer's will go later afternoon, mid-afternoon, before sundowning to go out and eat. So that way it's not as crowded and not too much stimulation for the loved one. I've seen several examples where, again, when we go into a restaurant, don't give the loved one 10 items to pick from. Pick 2, or if you know what they like, you order for them. Because that can become very challenging. They become very irritated when you give them 10 options of what to drink and they don't remember past the second one. So it's very important that, again, that we make sure that we have as much dignity when we go out to eat. I'm always challenged. I always think that we need to become a dementia-free community. And I firmly believe that people in restaurants, workers, grocery stores and such need to have some knowledge and understanding of Alzheimer's, because it's very important that they have a little bit of knowledge of how to communicate with them. So it's very important, again, that as we go out to eat, that we are looking at our surroundings, making sure there's not too much stimulation. I had an example shared with me that a resident's caregiver had to use the restroom. So she got up to use the restroom, and what do you think he did? He got up and started to walk out the front door. Well, the waitress had some dementia understanding and knowledge and followed him out and redirected him back in and sat with him in the booth until the loved one returned. And that could have been very serious if she had not done that. So it's important that, again, we make sure and look at our surroundings and look at our setup before we go out to eat. Next slide. Okay, now we're talking the bathroom. Bathing may be done in a tub or a shower with or without a shower chair or a sponge bath. We know that shower time can be very challenging. Our bathrooms can be very challenging. The one thing to do when we're trying to shower is to play calming, soothing music in the bathroom if a loved one is agitated. Caregivers should keep calm and cheerful, as bathing can be very upsetting. Never leave a loved one alone in a tub or a shower. When a loved one is placed in a facility, one of the questions we would always ask is, what time of day did your loved one shower? Some shower in the evening, some shower in the morning. So it's important that, again, we look at what is necessary to be done. So again, we want to make sure we're checking all those items, setting up our space. If you wait too long between showers, a loved one may become afraid and not let you bathe them. The sound of running water may be frightening to some of them, or to make them urinate when they are standing or sitting. Set up supplies ahead of time. Make the bathing process go smooth. Sometimes you have to get in the shower with them. Supplies for bathing room routine, the shower chair, the handheld shower spray, several rubberized non-skid placemats, towels, face cloths, shampoo, squirt bottle, bathrobe, clothes, long handle brush, toothbrush, shaver. Sometimes it's easier for them to brush their teeth while you're already in the shower. For safe reasons, grab bars can be put in appropriate places in the bathroom. Check water temperature before showering. Make sure floor outside the shower is dry and rubberized mat is secure. It may be necessary for the caregiver to get in the shower with the loved one. Put on a bathing suit. Make it fun. Place a towel or around your loved one's private areas that makes him or her feel more comfortable, lifting it gently to wash the area. Many times, again, they may not know who you are, and so we want to make sure we provide that dignity. You might use a bucket of water and sponge rather than the shower head. Glare from the walls and the fixtures can promote fear. Do not force the issue, but can try offering a sponge and sit baths if they refuse. Use a microfiber washcloth for automotive or paint departments. They're much softer. Give loved one a face cloth to help bathing. You can use this cloth to cover their eyes when rinsing their hair. Give loved one a bath brush and a long handle to clean their legs and back, etc. It might be helpful to brush their teeth in the shower. If loved one uses Depends, put one on before leaving shower area. When bathing is completed, rinse shower mats and disinfect it and hang mats with clips to dry for next time. Toileting, change the color of the toilet seat. There is a visual contrast. Again, white is very hard for a loved one to recognize and to see. So you can get online and you can buy all kinds of different colored toilet seats. And so, or you can put a light inside the toilet. I've seen those before. So there's some things that we can do. In the bedroom, you can use, next slide, we can use a lavender scent and in a diffuse to present a very soothing feeling at bedtime. Leave the bathroom light on and bathroom door open. This enables the loved one to go toward the light when having to go to the bathroom. Leave all the doors closed. Avoid a loud alarm clock if getting up in the morning, a soft music alarm. Loved one could sleep on and beside of the bed of the closest to the bathroom. So if they're sleeping on the side that's closest to the bathroom, they have less far to travel. Mattress protection, place a plastic shower curtain or a liner, then put adult pads on the side, then cover the sheet. Tuck the top sheet in the sides of the loved one when he is in bed or she. This is not a restraint, but may help them from falling out. Sometimes using a body pillow beside the loved one is comforting. To make a repositioning pillow, make yours own very tightly rolled up pillow. This can be placed under one side of the loved one to prop them or her up to alleviate possibility of getting bed sores. 1/2 cup vinegar and laundry sometimes takes away foul smells. Select clothes to be worn the next day and put in a prominent place in the bedroom. Medications. Review the list of medications recommended or not recommended for individuals with Alzheimer's. Get recommendations for physician, neurologist, and pharmacy. Strongly consider using one pharmacy for all your loved one's medications. That way you are dealing with one person, they become familiar with your medications. Ask your pharmacist to review all your loved one's medications for possible side effects. Your pharmacist can be your best friend. Unplanned inner reactions can be life-threatening. The computer software has a far better chance to identify medications that when a mixed combination. Sometimes we go to so many doctors and they're ordering so many prescriptions that we can have a problem with confusion and interaction of those pills. When a behavior of health change of your loved one occurs, do not automatically assume it's the progress of the disease. It could be their medications. So we want to make sure, again, our pharmacist is well aware of those medications. It's not uncommon for a loved one to refuse or become angry when being given medications. So here again, we got to try to figure out the best way to take their medications. Is it in the morning? Is it in the afternoon? Or is it in the evening? A loved one's refusal to take medications may be due to perceived fear associated with the process or the presentation of the present environment. You dispense the medications yourself. If your loved one is resisting medications, there are a number of modifications to try. When preparing the medications for disbursement, do so out of the sight of the loved one. Don't let them see you putting all the pills together. Some can be stressed when seeing all the different medications and containers. Consider administering each medication one at a time with a little break in between. Some loved ones don't have any trouble taking their medications, but you can put them in pudding, applesauce. If it continues to be difficult, you might need to try liquid medications. Consider the environment related to noise, commotion, and lighting. Try turning on the TV to distract your loved one, maybe when you're giving the medication, so that they can, they're focused on the TV, and then you're able to get them to take their pills. If the time of day the medications are administered is usually too difficult, you or your loved one consult with your pharmacist to determine if an alternative time would suffice. Sometimes they say that this pill has to be taken in the morning. Some say this is an evening medication. So we want to work with our pharmacy. If all seems to fail, set the medication aside for 10 to 20 minutes and then start the process again. Check with your doctor before scheduling surgery with anesthesia for your loved one. The anesthesia can be detrimental and can make the dementia worse. Many of you have seen a change in your loved one if they've had surgery or they are we want to make sure that, again, that there is no interruption with the medications. If you wish your neurologist or doctor to know something that may upset your loved one, put a note together and send it to your doctor before your scheduled visits. Safety precautions: place all medications in a safe place away from the loved one, preferably under lock and key. Check expiration dates of all medications and supplements often. If it says stay out of reach of children, keep it out of the reach of your loved one. The greatest example I can give you here is that we had a resident who saw, and we all see these in our home as Effordent tablets. And to that resident, it looked like a mint. And so he put it in his mouth and slowly he burned his tongue as the Effordent began to dissolve with his saliva. And it caused very severe burns to him. So again, it just tells us the importance of keeping things out of their reach. They put everything to the mouth. Everything goes to the mouth. And so we want to be very careful about that. So if it says keep out of reach of children, keep out of the reach of one's loved one. That's the end of our session one. And I felt like I needed to rush through that a little bit. There's just so much to talk about in these areas that, again, we want to make sure that you get as much information in it. Again, if you've got any questions, I don't know if Lisa's going to put up my phone number, but you feel free to call me. Again, my name's Jackie Kuhn, 574-721-1177. And please don't hesitate to give me a buzz if you got a question about things that I kind of talked about today. And hopefully, again, the next one, again, will be packed full of information that we're going to talk about how to transport your loved ones, traveling with your loved ones, just all kinds of safety issues and tips and just kind of general things, miscellaneous. This is a lot of stuff to cover. This is a lot of information to grasp. And I know that it's overwhelming for our caregivers. And again, I'm just trying to get as much information as I can in the hour that we've got. And so I appreciate your attentiveness, and I hope that it was helpful to you.
It was incredibly helpful. Some of the things I had never thought of or heard of before, Jackie. So I appreciate your guidance. I'm going to actually rewatch this and maybe take some notes and make sure that I maybe put it into a format in which people can kind of say click, 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 because it was really chocked full of lots of information.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if I skimmed over some things.
No, it was brilliant
to you, but we can always talk in more detail.
Well, it was brilliant because there's so much there, and you don't realize the environment that you live in could be of danger, right?
Yep.
I mean, really, the flowers on the tablecloth and the flowers on the carpet, right? I mean, who would have thought? I didn't even perceive that as a danger. So thanks for sharing all that, and we're looking forward to the next part of the series with you. Good luck with the walk this weekend. And if anybody wants to donate, again, they can go to the Alzheimer's Family Organization. All the money stays local. It's for education for families, for support group, for marketing materials to that group, educational pieces. I know that the Alzheimer's Family Organization has been having trouble because there hasn't been the ability to have the fundraisers that they normally have because of location, right? So I really, really want to encourage people to donate to a great cause, because Jackie's has been giving us such amazing information and been supporting the community for a very long time here. So again, thank you for all the support groups that you run at the different facilities, churches, that you're speaking is just spot on for the families that just need to know how to keep their loved ones safe. So thank you for joining us today. Again, Maureen, I don't know if Maureen can put up some of the information of the upcoming classes. I'm not sure if she can. If not, you can go to our website. There she is. Okay, so here we are. This is going to be done. The first one is going to be Affirmations, a Tool for Self-Empowerment. TLC is going to be doing that, so we're excited about that. Safety training, again, Jackie, this is going to be you on April 15th at 10 o'clock. And then the caregiver support group, we do have that through my company, and it is virtual with someone who's been trained on the Savvy Caregiver platform. So again, anybody who is interested in any of these classes, they're on my website. Certainly sign up. And just so you know, again, if you go to my website and you drop down to the drop down that says past events, all of this information is archived. All of the speaking engagements that Jackie has had or TLC has had is there. You can re-listen, you can share with family members. So I encourage you to go there and share it with people that you know are walking journeys of caregiving and dementia and Alzheimer's. So again, thanks for everybody joining. We had a great group, and we look forward to having you again. My name is Lisa Honka, and I'm here from Your Key to Senior Living Options. If there's anything that we can help you with, certainly reach out to us on the website, and we'll make sure that we can get you the information you're looking for. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Stay safe, right? And thanks again for joining us, Jackie. It's been great having you. You're a wealth of knowledge and you're a gift. So thanks for joining us. All right. Thank you so much.